Top 3 Susan B. Anthony dollar coins worth big money. Welcome. Today, we're exploring the top 3 most valuable Susan B. Anthony $1 coins from the United States of America, United States. In this video, we'll take a close look at their current market values, highlight some of the most famous and sought-after error coins, and explain the specific conditions that make certain Susan B. Anthony dollars extremely rare. That includes silver-like finishes, unusual color tones, and unique mint characteristics that have become major players in the coin collecting and investment world. These rare treasures are more than just pieces of history. They are among the most valuable coins collectors are actively searching for today. So, whether you're a coin enthusiast, an investor, or simply someone who appreciates the beauty and significance of American currency, this video is for you. Backhand index pointing right. Let's get started with the first coin. Magnifying glass tilted left money bag. The story of the 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar begins with silence, the kind of silence that follows an ending everyone believed was final. For nearly 2 decades, this coin had vanished from everyday American life, remembered by some and forgotten by many. Then, without fanfare or celebration, it returned. The Philadelphia Mint struck the Susan B. Anthony dollar again in 1999. Not as a bold announcement, but as a quiet necessity. That quiet return is exactly what gives this coin its power today, because history's most valuable moments often arrive without warning. By the time 1999 arrived, America had changed dramatically. Digital clocks replaced analog ones, computers filled homes and offices, and the nation stood on the edge of a new millennium. Into this moment stepped a coin from the past, carrying the face of Susan B. Anthony, a woman who challenged an entire nation to rethink equality, courage, and progress. Her presence on the dollar was never accidental. It was a statement. And in 1999, that statement felt more meaningful than ever. The Philadelphia Mint struck the 1999 Susan B. Anthony dollars with urgency and purpose. There was a shortage of dollar coins in circulation, and the country needed them quickly. Millions were produced, yet most never entered everyday pockets. Instead, they disappeared into transit systems, vaults, government storage, and institutional use. Very few reached the public in a way that allowed them to be preserved with care or intention. What makes the 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar so fascinating is not loud rarity, but quiet scarcity. These coins were stacked, counted, transported, and stored rather than admired. They were treated as tools, not treasures. That reality means finding one today with untouched surfaces, original brilliance, and no signs of handling feels almost impossible. When such a coin does appear, collectors immediately take notice, because survival itself becomes a form of rarity. There is also a deep emotional current attached to this coin. Susan B. Anthony was not a figure softened by time. She was bold, controversial, and unafraid. Her portrait on the dollar feels firm, focused, and unapologetic. Holding a 1999 P coin can feel like holding the weight of unfinished work, the continuation of a struggle that stretched across generations. That emotional gravity adds value far beyond metal and denomination. The late return of this coin in 1999 makes it feel like a final chapter written unexpectedly. Collectors often describe it as a closing echo, a coin struck not for celebration, but out of necessity. That alone gives it a unique place in American coinage. It is not part of a long, continuous run. It stands apart in time, and that isolation only deepens its fascination in today's market. Stories quietly circulate among collectors about extraordinary examples. Coins with sharp, powerful strikes, mirror-like surfaces, or unusual minting characteristics that elevate them far beyond ordinary expectations. While most examples remain common, a small number rise above the rest, becoming centerpieces of serious collections. These are the coins that spark intense bidding, whispered conversations, and lasting excitement when they appear. The idea that a simple $1 coin could transform someone's life may sound unbelievable. Yet history repeatedly proves that value often hides where no one is looking. The 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar represents that belief perfectly. It sat overlooked while attention shifted to newer designs, allowing time to quietly separate the ordinary from the exceptional. Condition plays a powerful role in this coin's destiny. Because most were handled mechanically or stored in bulk, pristine examples feel almost unnatural today. A flawless coin from 1999 stands as proof that chance, timing, and care aligned perfectly. That alignment is what collectors chase, not just money, but the story of survival against overwhelming odds. The reverse of the coin, featuring the eagle and lunar symbolism inspired by exploration, adds another layer of meaning. It reflects humanity's drive to push beyond limits, mirroring Susan B. Anthony's lifelong pursuit of progress beyond societal boundaries. Together, the obverse and reverse tell a story of resistance, ambition, and vision frozen in metal. As years pass, interest in this coin continues to grow, not because it is flashy, but because it represents a moment when the past briefly returned to the present. Coins like this gain strength with time, as fewer untouched examples remain and curiosity deepens. The market rewards patience, and the 1999 P dollar quietly benefits from that truth. Many people unknowingly spend or overlook these coins, unaware of what condition, rarity, or unique characteristics can mean decades later. That is why experienced collectors always urge caution. Value is not always obvious. Sometimes it waits for the right era to reveal itself, and sometimes it reveals itself suddenly, without warning. The belief that this coin could change a fortune overnight is not built on fantasy alone. It is built on history's habit of surprising those who pay attention. When demand, scarcity, and story collide, even a $1 coin can step into extraordinary territory. The 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar sits quietly at that intersection. This coin is also a reminder that progress is rarely smooth. Susan B. Anthony herself never lived to see many of the victories she fought for, yet her influence reshaped a nation. In the same way, this coin waited years to be understood, respected, and desired. That parallel gives it a symbolic strength few modern coins possess. In the end, the 1999 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar is more than currency. It is a final echo of an era, a tribute to persistence, and a symbol of hidden potential. For those fortunate enough to hold an exceptional example, it represents possibility, the kind that arrives quietly, asks nothing, and then changes everything once it is finally recognized. Next coin. The story of the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar begins at a moment when America was experimenting with change, unsure of what the future would accept and what it would reject. The late 1970s were restless years, filled with economic pressure, social movements, and a growing desire to modernize even the smallest details of everyday life. Into this uncertain landscape came a new $1 coin, smaller than its predecessors, bold in its message, and carrying a face that challenged tradition rather than comforting it. Susan B. Anthony was not chosen lightly. Her image represented determination, resistance, and a voice that refused to be silenced. When her portrait appeared on the dollar in 1979, it marked a historic moment. The first time a real woman appeared on circulating United States coinage. The Denver Mint struck millions of these coins, each marked with a small d, releasing them into circulation with the hope that Americans would embrace this new symbol of progress. But history is rarely predictable. The coin entered circulation during a time when many people resisted change, and it was often confused with the quarter. It moved quickly through hands, vending machines, transit systems, and cash drawers, rarely admired and frequently criticized. That rough, everyday treatment is exactly what gives the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar its hidden power today, because survival through neglect creates a very different kind of rarity. Most of these coins lived hard lives. They were stacked, dropped, scraped, and worn without mercy. Very few escaped circulation early enough to preserve their original surfaces and sharp details. That is why high-quality examples today feel almost unnatural, like objects that somehow avoided decades of damage through chance alone. When collectors encounter one in exceptional condition, it immediately separates itself from the rest. There is also a persistent fascination surrounding unusual strikes, extraordinary finishes, and rare minting characteristics from this first year of production. The excitement does not come from abundance, but from the possibility that something remarkable slipped through unnoticed. That possibility keeps collectors searching, examining, and imagining what might still be hiding in plain sight. The emotional weight of this coin cannot be ignored. Susan B. Anthony was a woman far ahead of her time, fighting battles she knew she might never live to see resolved. Her expression on the coin feels firm, focused, and unyielding. Holding a 1979 $D can feel like holding unfinished history, a reminder that progress often moves slowly and rarely arrives with applause. The timing of the coin's release adds another layer of meaning. America was standing at the edge of the 1980s, approaching an era of rapid technological change and social transformation. This dollar coin became a bridge between old traditions and new ideas. It carried the weight of history while attempting to redefine what American money could represent. Collectors often described first-year Susan B. Anthony dollars as emotionally charged coins. They are not admired solely for appearance, but for what they dared to symbolize. That emotional significance adds depth to market interest, because value is not only about metal. It is about meaning, context, and survival. Quiet stories circulate within collector communities about remarkable examples discovered unexpectedly. Coins pulled from old collections, unopened rolls, or forgotten storage suddenly reveal untouched surfaces and razor-sharp details. These stories keep the belief alive that one overlooked coin, ignored for decades, can suddenly become life-changing. The idea that a single dollar coin could alter someone's financial future may sound unbelievable, until history proves it again and again. Time has a way of filtering out the ordinary and elevating the exceptional. As the years pass, fewer untouched examples remain, and the gap between common and extraordinary continues to grow. The reverse design, featuring the strong eagle and lunar symbolism, reinforces the coin's message of ambition and exploration. It reflects a nation reaching forward, even when unsure of its footing. Paired with Susan B. Anthony's image, the coin becomes a quiet statement about persistence, courage, and vision. What makes the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar so compelling is that it was never meant to be special. It was meant to be spent. That humble purpose is exactly what transforms its survivors into something powerful. Coins that were never expected to be saved often become the most fascinating decades later. Even today, many people encounter these coins and dismiss them without a second thought. That is how history repeats itself. Value passes through countless hands unnoticed until someone pauses long enough to look closer. The difference between spending a coin and preserving it can be the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. The belief that this coin holds the power to change a fortune overnight is rooted in patience, not fantasy. Markets evolve, demand shifts, and stories mature. Coins connected to strong narratives tend to grow quietly before revealing their full impact. Susan B. Anthony herself never witnessed the full success of her life's work, yet her influence reshaped an entire nation. In much the same way, this coin waited years to be understood and appreciated. That parallel gives it a symbolic weight that few modern coins can claim. In the end, the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar is more than currency. It is a reminder that progress is often misunderstood in its own time, that value can hide behind familiarity, and that history rewards those who pay attention. For the person holding an exceptional example, it represents possibility, the kind that arrives quietly and changes everything once it is finally recognized. Next coin. The story of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony $1 coin begins during a restless chapter of American history, a time when the nation was searching for progress but unsure how far it was willing to go. The late 1970s were filled with economic tension, rising costs, and a public growing tired of old systems that no longer felt practical. In the middle of this uncertainty, the United States Mint made a bold decision that would quietly reshape American coinage forever. For the first time in history, a real woman was chosen to appear on circulating U.S. currency. Susan B. Anthony was not selected for comfort or familiarity. She was chosen because she represented resistance, courage, and a refusal to accept silence. Her portrait on the dollar coin was strong and direct, carrying the weight of decades of struggle for equality. When this coin entered circulation in 1979, it was more than money. It was a message. Both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint produced these coins in large numbers, marked with the subtle P and D mint marks. At the time, no one imagined these coins would ever be discussed with excitement or reverence. They were created to solve a practical problem, not to become historic artifacts. Their purpose was simple: to be spent, handled, and forgotten. And forgotten they were. The coin size caused confusion, often mistaken for a quarter, leading to frustration rather than appreciation. People spent them quickly, tossed them into drawers, vending machines, and transit systems, never pausing to examine the face or the story it carried. That careless treatment shaped the destiny of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar more than anyone realized at the time. Because these coins were used so heavily, truly well-preserved examples became quietly scarce. Most were scratched, dulled, and worn within just a few years. Very few survived with their original surfaces intact, their detail sharp, and their brilliance untouched. That survival against everyday damage is what now separates ordinary examples from those that command serious attention. Collectors understand something the public once ignored. Coins that were never meant to be saved often become the most powerful decades later. The 1979 D and 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollars carry that exact energy. They represent a moment when history moved forward, even as society hesitated. That tension gives the coin depth and emotional gravity. There is also a quiet excitement surrounding unusual strikes, exceptional finishes, and rare production characteristics from the first year. These are not things easily noticed by the untrained eye. They reveal themselves only to those who look closely, patiently, and with understanding. That sense of discovery fuels the belief that something extraordinary may still be hiding in plain sight. The reverse of the coin adds another layer to its story. The eagle, inspired by exploration and ambition, symbolizes a nation reaching beyond limitations. When paired with Susan B. Anthony's determined portrait, the coin becomes a conversation between vision and action, between struggle and progress. It tells a story that feels unfinished, which makes it even more compelling. What makes this coin fascinating is that its value is not loud or obvious. It grows quietly through time, condition, and story. As years pass, fewer untouched examples remain, and interest slowly intensifies. The market rewards patience, and history rewards awareness. That is how ordinary objects become extraordinary. Many people still encounter these coins and dismiss them without a second thought. That moment, when a coin is overlooked or spent, is where opportunity disappears. History has proven again and again that fortune often passes through hands unnoticed, waiting for someone who understands what they are holding. The idea that a single dollar coin could one day change a life sounds unbelievable until history proves it possible. Value is not always immediate. Sometimes it matures slowly, building strength through scarcity, narrative, and survival. Coins tied to meaningful moments often wait years before revealing their true power. Susan B. Anthony herself never lived to see the full impact of her fight for equality. Yet her influence reshaped the nation. In that same way, this coin waited decades to be understood, respected, and sought after. That parallel gives it a symbolic weight that few modern coins can match. Collectors are not just chasing metal or numbers. They are chasing stories, moments, and meaning. The 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar represents a turning point, a bold experiment, and a reminder that progress is rarely welcomed at first. That truth resonates deeply in today's world. If you hold one of these coins, especially in exceptional condition, it deserves a second look. Not every coin carries potential, but some carry possibility. Spending it without understanding may close a door you never knew existed. In the end, the 1979 D and 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar coins are more than currency. They are echoes of courage, symbols of change, and reminders that history often hides its treasures in plain sight. For those who recognize their significance, these coins represent something rare: the quiet power to change a future when the time is right.